All right. Well, I figured might as well do two analysis videos of the same tournament here. So we just had a play for third place, which was between Kim and Leza, and now we have Reno and MST, who are kind of fairly consistently the top Japanese players. You kind of have a fair group of them: G30, MST, Leza. You've got Mekasue. You've got a fair number of players all kind of rotate around, or are all definitely at the same. Maybe we'll say like tier or same level, except Reno kind of consistently takes the top, and he also has a pretty top tier waifu, C. Catherine, and MST is the other side of the board where he prefers K. So a rivalry beyond just the game itself. So yeah, I this is my first time watching this set, but I think it will be interesting to see. Just kind of trying to mark some stuff up, make some notes, while we're going through. Um, let's see, why is it taking so long? Oh, that shouldn't be there. Move that out of the way. Alright, I think this was them just, there we go. I'll just skip ahead a little bit, actually get to the first match. So I don't know. Okay, we got a input error here. Let me skip ahead maybe. Alright, so quad as the first map. That'll be interesting. Let's see how Japan plays this. Because I haven't seen quad in a while, but, usually quad, the middle is going to be the most interesting situation to see whether a player crosses over or not. Um, because if they do not and they let you get the center, you have the potential to push out. Now, Japan doesn't usually push out, so maybe that's not part of their meta and they don't deal with that. So let's just see. I have a feeling that they probably play it more just climbing oriented. So they both go to the outside. That's fine. Let's see. Alright, yeah, it looks like... Okay, so they do one pull to the inside. I'm curious why they do that. Maybe just to spawn the item. That is another difference, right? Is that ice blocks can spawn items in this game. Um, let's see. 1P opts to throw the item. I don't really know if I agree with that. It doesn't really give you anything. Here, that's an opportunity for a push. But yeah, 2P is going to just eat that up. Um, yeah, that's kind of interesting there. 2P is going to get that big bump, and that's going to be pretty big. If I was 2P, I would probably have tried to now watch this, right? Because 1P is in a pretty fragile position. What do? Right? They can't push or pull this block. So, they either have to like go around the outside and spider like all the way around, which is just kind of time consuming, which gives 2P a nice opportunity to stand here and threaten a drop kick. I mean, they could even do one better and stand directly here, threaten a drop kick. What would be actually like super interesting would have been stand here, push both of these, right? Because if they would have pushed that, I think this would have slid over, right? So you got a shape that looks something like this. And then that actually would have blocked 1P from being able to spider around the side, and 1P wouldn't have been able to interact with this block. Not to mention, I mean, standing here, you have the potential to drop kick, and then actually at the very start here, you can extend it even more, go down to the pit, and then you can pull this over to the side. So that's actually checkmate just from this position. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves ahead. So that's pretty cool. That's a nice little pattern. But not only that, right? I mean, here to here gives you the block, the item. So that's I don't agree with just kind of walking away. I think you had a great potential to convert. And so that kind of ended a little bit early, in my opinion, because now you're going to have to do something like this, which is fine, I guess. 1P is going to go this way. If I was 1P, maybe I would have went or to the left. I think that would have been a little bit less spider. Here, 2P is going to do a little bit of okay. That's fine. You got to be a little bit careful from the push from 1P, but now this is looking really tricky for 1P. They had to try to turn around. I think their controls are getting a little bit wonky. They're going to have to step in and do some pulls here. Yep. But even then, I mean, they just put themselves into paradise. So I think this is it for 1P at this point. Because the stage is probably about to fall out right now. Yeah. So 2P took it. I would have liked to see 2P convert a little bit better. I think to go back maybe and analyze what exactly lost 1P the interaction. They were a little bit behind. Well, I guess ultimately it comes down to this butt bump, right? Which kind of comes from throwing this block here. It didn't really give you anything, so I don't know if I necessarily agreed with you. And it gave more depth to the stage, which led to that butt bump. And then not only that, but then some suboptimal bit here, right? I mean, that's extra spidering instead of just spidering right there. So yeah, the other thing that I think works out better here is instead of this pull, maybe a push up here and then push here as well. I think that works out pretty good because that gives you a nice little platform and prevents the paradise. Um, Typically, whenever you see the paradise, right, which is just these dark blocks on the outside, because the whole key, right, is that you cannot push this row when the dark block is there. So it's a paradise for the other guy, hell for the opposing player. um, but whenever you see that, you have to change up your style because it's very easy for 2P to block off this whole section. So really, realistically, what you could do, the other thing that would be relatively simple, right? I mean, with this item, for instance, would have been up, turn around, toss, right? And then up, up. That works out pretty good. The other thing that might work out is just keep pulling all the way to here, and then pull this block as well, and then pull this one over, right? And there's your other way up. To try to continue on this outside doesn't quite work. I think if you want to make it work, you kind of have to do what I was thinking of, something where this gets pushed on the outside, right? And then you go up here, then you push these guys, and they connect too, and then you kind of build your way back over to this side, because otherwise you get blocked out too easily. I don't know if that necessarily happens here. It kind of does, right? You see 2P right there, right? With this, what does 1P do? 1P can't really do anything. I mean, actually, maybe if I'm 1P, realistically, probably what you should do is you should just spider on the back, right? And then come up and just keep playing a little bit behind, as opposed to they kind of, they push this out and then push this out, and then this comes down, and they stay over here, I think. Let me see what they do. Yeah, they kind of stay over here, right? I mean, at this point, like, this area looks kind of nice. I mean, you can kind of do something if you go down, up, grab this, right? You still have your item block, which you could just turn around and toss, but I think that was just a misinput. Um, Definitely this spidering doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, clearly the move is toss item, go up here, pull, pull, right? You want to double pull this block, after you spawn a block in here to make that full little path connected. Um, okay, all right, which he does, but again, that doesn't work because now you've been paradised. All right, that all comes back to this guy is here, so you can't push, um, which makes this whole thing a little bit messy. The other way that you could maybe deal with that is to pull this guy out, right? That gives you a nice little 3 landing here. You could pull and then pull that, and that is solvable, but I don't know if you really have enough time at this point. Certainly not when you start doing this nonsense. That's not going to work. Especially because there's a double paradise. It was kind of hard to see, but there's another one waiting. So it was not good. So MST, fairly strong start. I think it was more so a misplay from Rino, but MST had pretty solid climbing. Let's see what they do this time. If it's the same kind of start, I would expect both of them to go to the outside, which is pretty quick. Yeah, kind of normal. They both do this pull. Okay, Reno did one more pull into the middle. That's a little bit interesting, especially because if 2P would have stayed here, they would have been able to pillow hit, right? And then they would have really, they would realistically have control of both of the blocks, so I don't know if I necessarily agree with the pull to the middle. Um, I don't know. It just is kind of weird. I'm not sure exactly what that gives you, but it does give you items, so I guess that's fair. Again, we'll see 1P with the item. Let's see what 2P does. 1P does a smack. Typically, I don't know if I agree with the turnaround. I think that what works typically on quad is smack and then item, right? Because then that blocks 2P can't go up there anymore because now you have the dark block, so 2P has to go around. The other thing they could do, they could go this way, they could pull, right, and then they have to go up. But that does give you a nice opportunity because then you have, control over here, right? So if they try to climb up, you get this nice drop kick combo. So then 2P will have to go around to the outside. When they go around to the outside, though, I mean, you have the potential just to climb up. So I think that just tossing the I think that pillow hit to item throw is a fairly strong combo. I don't like this. I don't like 2P doing a grab there either. I think that was a little bit strange, but that's fine. This landing is always a little bit interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough to say what you should do here. Uh, you have this 3 high wall, and it's kind of puzzled Catherine players for centuries. I'll say for years is probably more accurate and less dramatic. Um, but you got this wall, right? And the key thing is though, right? Imagine that 1P pulls, well 2P gets to stand on top of that block, right? And then what does 1P do? 1P can't approach because it's all ice and they'll get drop kicked. So it's actually kind of this crazy like leapfrog kind of meta where you don't want to be the first one to pull. Now items in full body can change that up a little bit. Another possible solution, right? Because the basic shape, the basic climbing shape would be to pull, pull, and then pull this way, right? So it takes 3 actions. And it involves the 2 blocks. But pulling is kind of slow, and it's slow because when you pull, you go into the spider, right? So one method that is, we call it like a Babel solve because it's used in the Babel game mode a lot, would be to reduce it down to 1 pull is that you only need to pull the edge block, and then when you spider around, you just need to push, and then you push this in, and these blocks fall on top of here, and it actually gives you your way up. It's a little bit tricky to see, but it's an advanced Babel climbing thing, so that would work. It also works on this side, although it is less forgiving of the timing. You can pull, you have to climb on top and push, and then drop back down and push to the right. But the point here is that that gives you a little bit more control over instead of having to do the 3 pulls. And really, the bad thing is that the 2 pulls that put you into a spider, those are slow. So that is just something to keep in mind here. If I'm 2P, probably realistically what I would like to do is maybe I'd throw my item block to give me some, I mean that suddenly turns the shape a lot more forgiving. I don't have to worry about slipping off the back end here. It gives me the potential to come around and really makes this whole platform a little bit easier to work with, a little bit nicer to do. It does also set up the potential to do some pins, right? Here and here especially give you a great opportunity to well, here is kind of a misleader, right? Because that's actually kind of interesting. So if you were to pin somebody on this spot, right, and this block wouldn't have been there, if you move into it, you actually will fall off and die. That's really interesting, I think. Um, but yeah, you'll have the opportunity to pin here, and then push the back block out, and then do a reversal combo. And especially if you get it here, that's an instant win, right? Because they won't be able to move left or right because the blocks are there. So if I'm 2P, I'm definitely thinking that my 3x3 is looking pretty juicy. 1P, I hope nobody pulls this. That's what I don't want to see. So let's see what happens. Okay. Okay. That's pretty slick. That's outside thinking. It's a little bit dangerous, right? Because 1P, as soon as 2P came over, 1P could have pulled. I don't know if that's necessarily like an online thing that works because of reaction time. Um, but yeah, that works. Um, I don't agree with tossing the item there. I think that the time to toss the item or the place to toss the item was in the middle, right? Because you want to cover both of those. You want to cover both the ways up. You don't want to play it here because then that doesn't give you anything. Not really. Not realistically. So I would like to see a little bit more concern about the opponent. Then again, to be fair, 2P is also having the same situation where they can only see themselves. The camera is focused on them. So maybe they couldn't see 1P coming up. So that's fair. And that's just harder to see. This actually will give 1P the way up, and so they'll have the advantage. Ooh, I'm going to chalk that up to misinput. Here's opportunity, right? I mean, that's just dropkick win. Surprised the MST is the so-called dropkick samurai, but that kind of missed out. Here's another opportunity for Paradise, but 1P is going to take this nice solve on this side, right, which avoids Paradise, so 2P doesn't have to do it. They still do it. They do it again as well. I got a quick glimpse of that. So 2P is up. They're going to toss their item. It's a little bit faster to do it this way, right, because you don't have to spider around. But now we see 2P is getting awfully near the top. Quadrangle is relatively simple to solve. It's just a lot of these 2 highs. I think I saw MST's at the end pattern. He does have Curse, so that could be bad for him. Curse, it buffers your last input. So on ice levels, that's definitely very difficult. Because if you mess up, or if things get slightly delayed, you slip and you slide to your death. So that wouldn't be good. So we got MST wins the first round. Next up is Close Encounter. This is the laser stage. Japan has an interesting meta that they like to do, at least on this stage, which is the only thing I think that is relatively interesting in the opening, I think, is they push their front row in and then pull back. The concept is that you get wine has a fairly high chance to spawn on this stage, and so the early the early pushes can lead you to get the item fairly quickly, which the wine is more important than the maybe 2 space early game height, at least according to the Japanese mentality so far, and I am inclined to agree with them. So that is my idea. So I'll see if they both do it. I wouldn't be surprised if both players do a push and a pull. No, neither of players do it. Okay. Yeah, there's MST with his wine, so he's going to try to bust that as soon as possible, but Rino is going to have to come over there and fight him. Rino now is in an interesting position because now the shoe is on the other foot. MST could play aggressive with all the wine, and he does, but he gets... Ooh, yeah, that's what happens when you try to be super aggressive with the wine, is that it leads to an easy push out. So good on Reno to watch MST, right? It's very easy to think about yourself and not really and lose track of your opponent. So I would like to see I prefer a pull there instead of a push, because a pull I think of as you don't throw away the block, it still gives you something to work with, but it's fine. So Reno got this crappy dark block. MST gets this wine. Interesting item placement by Reno. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Now you're gonna have this situation. MST, I think he's not playing defensively enough around the spots. That was a little bit scary for Reno. I thought he was going to get hit by the laser. I would like to see MST take control of the critical points a little bit more. Here, yeah, I mean, Reno just now activated. He goes for another tricky push out, right? But MST's not interested right now, especially because his wine, I think, is about to run out. Yeah, there's another block there, so you can't quite do that. You have to do a lot more work to get this to work. You have to do some... Yeah. Your item, you don't want to go there. Oof, that's scary. If I was MST, man, you know how slick that would have looked? As soon as 1P comes up, 2P drops, right? Forces him to get hit by the laser. That would have been sick. but that didn't happen. Yeah. So let's see what happens. Yeah, I mean, if this is kind of tricky, right? Especially if I'm uh, MST, because you just kind of you just want to get up there, right? I mean, you're one item, you're one pull away from a solving shape, so you probably just want to get up there. Uh, I guess technically what might have worked out instead of this just sitting up here. Oh well, this was blocked off completely. Never mind. I was gonna say if he would have had the possibility to earlier come over to this side and push this way, right? Because there's no laser here, so you could push this and then he could get on top. And I don't know. I guess he couldn't really do anything, but um, they could set up there too. I would have pushed there because these blocks are the ones that are going to be pulled, right? Yeah. But yeah, just the timing doesn't work out. Reno can't get it. So that was good. MST is real good at maintaining the lead once he gets it. So I'd be sweating a little bit if I was Reno. I do really wish that this stage was not layered in the immovable blocks. It would be so much more interesting if you could push it out, or maybe if they were checkered a little bit, right? Maybe there was a little bit more thought behind them. This is interesting, right? I mean, there you just what works here, right, is of course ladder combo to make them sit and get caught by the laser. So it's, I mean, right. I'm also watching all this stuff at halftime speed, so obviously it's a little bit trickier to get your real-time reaction as well as over or online, right? Even if it is pretty good, it's not that great. Here, I mean, right, there's again your potential combo. You see, I don't know if that was a misinput or what, but that the empty spider doesn't quite make sense to me, so I'll chalk it up to online. Um, Here he did some pulls, right, to get it away from the laser blocks. Okay, we're going to do some climbing here. MST now also gets that. Ooh, yeah, you don't want to slow down. You have to get somewhere safe, pretty much, on this stage. Um, that's all that you can do. You might be able to get away with a pull. I don't know. I guess that's what MST was trying to do, but yeah, you can't move on the. You can't do anything on top of the block while it is moving, and so Reno's able to get behind him and push it out. So it's a tough spot for sure, but you just can't. The pretty much you can't start to build your ladder or your stairway to the next level until you're sure that it's safe, right? Because otherwise you're either going to get punished for it or you're going to play this game where the other person uses the structure that you made. So it still seems like some of these players aren't quite taking, I guess I would say, taking full advantage of thinking like that, and instead more focused on I'm going to climb as quickly as possible, or oh, this position kind of looks good, right? Or oh, this is what I'm roughly going for. Um, yeah, a range, that's how I feel. I don't know. I give this stage some crap because I think it's super boring. But it's somewhat interesting, I guess. The thing that saves it is this reversal combo. Um, the easier to set up pin situation is a bore, but it's not, you know, it's whatever. Uh, excuse me. So here, uh, this is what I'm talking about, right? This is like the pit of death. I mean, you had the opportunity just to go over here and hit the other guy, right? And then all of this, each, I mean, each area leads to like a pin, right? This whole back row, and so it's just very tedious if the other guy forces a fight here, as well as it's very easy, right, to just push this stuff out because since they're multi-blocks, since they're Tetris blocks, arrange blocks, whatever you want to call them, um, it's easier to push out the whole structure because you don't need to push out each individual cube, right? So what that means is that, you know, you'll see somebody start to build, and then it'll only take them like 2 or 3 moves to actually make the structure collapse. And so, more or less, you usually get to a situation where you have to fight here. So, you get some tricky stuff around the sides. I would try to avoid the back line. Avoid getting hit on the back line, but try hitting the other guy on the back line. So, let's see, right? We're going to see now we're playing the footsies, the classic. Uh-huh. Big hit in the middle here. Let's see if he does a wobble. He's doing it. He's doing it. He's gonna be a little bit late. All right. All right. Rino's not super interested in doing it. So let's just see what happens here. I guess this is like, I don't know. I'm gonna try to put my tiny brain here, tiny ape brain, to some work and try to think about how, if you were to play this stage optimally, what would it look like, right? I mean, in my mind, the way that works is that at this point I stand here, and if 2P steps on this line, I drop kick, and then I just do, the back and forth walk, keep him pinned, and then time it, and then I go up at the very end. That's the win. But if I'm 2P, I have a nice opportunity to go around the back and push this way. And 1P can't step into the background, right? Because this block is here to block, and block is block. But gives me some protection. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I'm 1P, I stand there, and I still think as 1P, your best option is to stand there because standing out here is kind of scary. If you're here and 2P pulls, let me clear the clutter a little bit. Um, if you're standing here, right, and 2P pulls, this is no longer there and you just instantly die. So that's not good. If you're here and they pull twice, you fall and you die. So that's not good either. The other thing, right, is that you can try to climb a little bit, but 2 pushes, and this thing is gone, and then this thing's falling. So that's not good either. Yeah, this is. I don't think that it's like the strangest Catherine stage because I don't think climbing is the answer. You know what I mean? In fact, I think climbing is actively a bad thing on this stage. But I think that a minor height difference is very good. So actually, probably as 1P, the best thing that you can do is stand here and push this in. This block hangs onto here, right? So this side is still open, which means that if 2P comes around, you get a pin into a possible reversal. They can't go this way, so they have to go here, and then typically they'll be holding it so much they actually buffer around the corner, and when they buffer around the corner, this is blocking them, so they can't continue to go. So I would say hit, reversal, and then hold left, right? And try to butt bump them off this side. I think that would be your best bet as 1P is to just stand right here, and I think that you're in an optimal spot. But similarly, right, 2P can go here, and they can mimic the structure, and then you got both guys are just staring at each other, and what do you do? At that point, I would say maybe you pull this, I guess. 1P's also, well, I guess 1P's at a slight advantage because this is one out, but I mean, you can easily remedy that by pulling it in. So, I don't know. It's kind of becoming less and less about analyzing their specific strats as well as the map itself. Kind of theorizing a little bit, going down the rabbit hole leads you somewhere crazy really quickly, but I think the important thing to note there is just that it's a very complicated position. I think we're all playing a range wrong. Yeah, I guess. So it makes it hard to talk about what these guys are doing when I don't think what they're doing works out, right? We'll see. Okay, 1P is climbing. 2P does a nice push there. I'm surprised 2P didn't set up for, I mean, standing here, right? I mean, that's a free pillow hit into a pin, into a, ultimately, really, that's a 50-50. whether or not 1P buffers and tries to move out of the way. Okay, 1P gets their hit, so now we're going to get... Now, this is actually a super scary spot, right? Because when these come down, this spot is insta-death, because you can't buffer Spider. So, it's a very scary spot. 1P is just going to play it. It's almost kind of funny, because out here, which is... Usually, you would think that the outside is the scary spot, is... on a range, that's not necessarily true. I mean, you fall, you really have a good bit of time to get back up here. There's a couple variations, maybe 3 or 4 main lines that you can do to get back. But it's kind of a reversal of other stages because on most stuff like Quadrangle, for instance, right? If you're on the outside level and you get drop kicked, that's really bad. Here, it's not so bad. If you get pinned on the back line, though, especially on the very back line, in the middle, it's kind of whatever. But if you get pinned on the back line, it's actually very bad for you. So, just a interesting thing to point out about the dynamics between this stage and the other stage. It's almost like the anti-Catherine stage, right? It's unlike any of the other stages. Uh, right, because I mean, even if you fight here, right, like this doesn't convert to anything, not really. 2P's just emptily kind of pulling this. It does defuse this back line. That's kind of the interesting part a little bit, I guess. It makes the back line more cluttered, um, makes things less likely to kind of interact with each other. Maybe I'm thinking 2P one. I think 2P is just pushing around blocks. Sometimes that's what you gotta do, honestly. Um, but something that might work is pushing this one over. If you do eventually, right, there's your 2 landing, and there is your nice little step. But again, it's very hard to look at any of these structures because they are all so unstable. So I don't know what 2P is going to try to do here. Let's see. We got some empty pools. We got 1P, blah blah. Doing some stuff. Now he's coming over here, getting a empty hit. Possible pin spot. Okay. Let's see. I think he's doing a little bit of timing. We're going to move that block back. You see, here I would have just kept doing a little pin back and forth. Here it's actually the same position that was earlier, so I think realistically the best thing to do is push this in and wait, and then you have control over 1, 2, 3, blocks, and you're fairly safe. Um, so let's see what 2P does. 2P is gonna... If I was 2P, I'd take the opportunity to get the item. Yeah, for sure. Item changes the dynamic a little bit on the stage, but not so much. It actually... I'd almost think that in some respects, item is the juice is kind of bad because again, the climbing unstable structures is bad, and the juice kind of encourages you to do that. So that's not good. Here we're on this middle line, so we got a potential there for a fairly easy wobble. Um, I'll just chalk it up to maybe 2P missing input or something like that on line for why we're not actually getting the wobbles out. Okay, so we're getting rid of that, which means the right side comes down. So right now the goalpost as well, just to kind of keep in mind, is that I don't know exactly what pattern is up here, but I do know because this side is higher, that is currently being held up by this. So in my mind, this side is the left side is the desired side that I would start to shift towards if I do want to win the map by climbing. So maybe I would try at some point to push this white 3 in. That would be my idea, maybe. Um, okay, yeah, we're just going to do a little bit of this. Alright. And this does work out a little bit better for 2P because I guess they can time their item use to go up here and then up one more, which is a little bit safer than just one platform up, right? And then if 1P or whatever player is getting pinned does just one move, you go down, right? Oh, yeah, so we're going to have something tight here. Yeah. Alright, that's a draw, I think, at this point. I think 1P gave it away. Wow, I'm surprised nobody went over here to this side. Yeah, that was very good by 1P to do that, force the draw. Otherwise, 2P would have been on top. I'm surprised they didn't just go to the left, though. Because especially where this was nice is that This is actually super advantageous, right? Because when this guy catches on, if you stand here, uh, all they can do is stand here to try to push this, right? But you have drop kick priority over that. I'm not sure what would have happened. I mean, you got right this push, and then this guy falls, and you can push him out. And I don't know what the structure looks like. But if I'm 1P, I'm thinking, oh yeah, or if I'm 2P for sure, I'm definitely going this way. Um, if I am 1P, probably pushing this. No, probably keeping 2P down is the move. So if you want to take the win, forcing a draw is a fine move too. All right, I'm just gonna skip ahead here. uh, this stage drives me up a tree. All right, see what we got. All right, now we got some depth to the stage a little bit. Right, that'll be interesting. I don't know if that's necessarily anything super interesting. There's the potential, right? If this is one more over, you got that nice step, but again, everything on this stage is so freaking deceiving. It doesn't really help you or hurt you. I feel like this stage would be actually super cool as well if all of this was on top of this line, because then that would really give you the potential to push these blocks just one back and have back solves, which is one of the like really cool things that the range blocks gives you the opportunity to do. And I just feel like there's not quite the map design doesn't help enforce that or help that. Instead, you just kind of get this crazy this. All right, so we have a potential setup for oh, okay. 2P is going to do the reversal, blah, blah. They're going to go to the far side. There you go, 2P. That's so good. That's what you have to do, is because when you buffer, it's very difficult to buffer just one. And so usually at this point in time, everybody buffers fully around the corner. And when you come around the corner is the opportunity for the come down. So, for now that works. Maybe in another year or two, when players start to get good at, you'll just buffer the one movement. You'll lose this, but for now it's like free real estate, right? You just want to use that. And then if you are in this position, actually this works out really nice for 2P, because after you get that, you just want to spider around, and I think you just want to body block this square. Um, because that doesn't allow 1P to use their item, so that's pretty good. Um, maybe, I guess, what 1P could do would be to go here, pull this, drop down, use their item, and come up to here. But, you know, what you kind of have the opportunity to do while 1P is doing that as 2P is when you see them do this pull, you just stand on the edge of this block, right? Because now that gives you the drop kick potential over top of this one, and they can't do anything. Um, I mean, that does mean that 1P instead, they'll have to drop back down, they'll have to do a pull, they'll have to do another pull, and then they will be able to use another juice to come up top. You can't stand here anymore because if they also push this, you'll fall. So maybe you stand on top of here, you do a drop, right? Then they'll spider, they'll have the opportunity to do a Y reversal, or not a Y reversal, just a regular reversal. So it's getting a little bit deep into the read now, and it's a little bit tricky to see in my mind, but we're still going for it. You got the drop, you got the spider. Stuff happens here. There's no clear winner in my mind. Hmm. Yeah, that one's a little bit tricky. But anyway, yeah, so 2P has to just body block. Okay, that works. That probably works a little bit better. I don't know. The one thing about blocks, right, is that you lose the drop kick potential. You lose some direct control. But This is certainly a very powerful position for 2P. 1P cannot easily dismantle this. They can't pull. They have to attack from down below. They have to make a new way up. They have to do a pull, and then another pull there, and so it's 3-step solve. With their item, it's not too bad at all because they have the juice. Um, they should not mess around up here with any of this stuff. Yeah. Okay, I guess they can do a spider around too. That works. I don't think it works. Okay. I mean, it works. It works. 2P is doing their climb, but that's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, and then that's the full body thing is where sometimes you'll die even if the stage would have caught on. It just doesn't register that. Um, I guess the player fall speed and the block fall speed might be different, right? And so maybe there's a point where the player falls through a block. That's just my theory. Whatever it actually is, the functional, the real life impact of that is that you fall through blocks and you die when you really shouldn't. So it's less than good, I guess I would say. This is an interesting spot, right? Because yeah, you're like, we'll let this play out a little bit. But you with these when you have this kind of opening, what this gives you the opportunity to do is that if you have these guys out here, right? If you pull them, it sets up to where this is insta death, right? Because you get the pin to reversal to drop kick, and they can't move anywhere. Or if they do, which is fine at that point, you just stay here, right? Because they can't spider around the outside because since these are 3 long and there's 2 there, there's the one on the outside to stop them from coming around. So that's just the interesting bit. But we'll see what actually happens here. All right. This is now kind of interesting, right? Because this guy fell, so that cuts off this way. So it's just these 2 lines here. So we see he does go for the reversal, right? If you do something like, if you would have went over and then pulled this, you see how it is slowly killing off all the options that 2P would have had, which is very interesting. Um, they do still have the buffer that they won't immediately die, but then you can body block the square and try to time it at least where you go up and then over. So. Now you got this weird, I guess, like, yeah, like you get into this situation a lot where it's like, okay, well, what do I do? And there's not a very good answer, so 1P just runs away. Okay, we'll push some blocks around, I guess. Be real blockheads. Possible opportunity to use an X Factor somewhere? I mean, you can pull the green in the background and use it to get up to the purple. Nope, you're going to drop the purple. Very good that 2P didn't go all the way out because 1P would have killed him for it. Now we got a little bit of a stalemate here. Okay, we're just pushing stuff away now. I don't even really know what to say. We'll skip ahead a little bit. Usually I wouldn't say that about a Catherine match, but I just think that I think that's it. Are we gonna see another tie? Yeah, I mean at this point, right? 2P can just stand on that block realistically for as long as they want. 1P is gonna run to the side though, and they're gonna be able to toss theirs. Interesting. I don't agree with this. I don't think there's enough time to do this. Somebody has to take that square, yeah. And bye 2P. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. I mean, if you're 2P, you stand here. That's it. Like, you stand here and you just wait, right? The only opportunity that 1P has, 1P has, I guess not the only opportunity, but a very big opportunity that 1P has is item throw here, right? Because then they get a nice. They can do the same thing that 2P is doing and stand there, right? Or they stand here and they throw their item here and threaten to get one more up, right? Both of these will end up winning for 1P. So it's 2P. 2P though, I think still here is a fairly strong position. I mean, you just come down, you do a pillow hit, right? Especially if 1P throws the item, your reaction is to take this. It's yours, right? So, I mean, realistically, I don't think there's much that 1P can do. Maybe one thing that they could do. The other nice thing about throwing the dark block, at least here, is that it actually secures this. There's no way to drop that. I never thought about that before, but that's actually a very interesting corollary, right? Of tossing the immovable block here is that it completely saves this. It makes this whole structure completely safe. That's actually a really interesting thing. I think that'll have to be something I think about is that when you have the threes, if you get a dark block to anchor it on the side and protect it. Um, that's cool. But yeah, anyway, back to the actual game. Maybe what you could do is 1P is you could go here and toss your dark block here, because then it requires 2P to walk a little bit more to get the pillow hit. You might be okay, but you still run the threat of 2P then coming over and just pushing this if you're on top of here, right? That might be reasonable though if you are able to get the item block in time and then toss it, and then you have your 3x3 and then you're fairly safe. Um, so yeah, I would say if you're 2P, you just want to stay. You want to stay and see what 1P does. 1P walking this way is a little bit silly in my mind. Okay, walking off to try to get the pillow hit, somewhat reasonable. Pull is very unreasonable from 1P. A pull again is completely crazy. We're going off the rails. 2P, I think they were trying to get a pillow hit, so I won't fault them for that. But yeah, 1P just comes over here and takes this, and then that's it. 1P can actually put down his controller. Stupid. Anyway, Cathedral. Wow. How long did I talk about a range for? I have no idea, but get me somewhere. Take me home, baby. Take me to church. Get me out of here. I need saving. What we got? What do we got? So I don't know. I guess I'll say I think the best opening in full body is just the straight, the idiot push more or less, uh, just the real quick climb up, because there's no incentive to stay behind and farm. Um, so that would be my idea. I don't like doing an idiot push, so usually if the other person's doing it to me, I feel more comfortable just dropping and then just taking a little bit of the slow to build my base and just do a normal climb. Um, Cathedral is a little bit tricky to climb, and so you don't really lose out too much if you do that. But we'll see what actually happens here. Wow, neither player did that, and both players did something different. This is interesting. 1P's building up their outside. That's fine, right? They're going for a climb there. 2P's doing something really interesting, though, because they're giving blocks over to 1P. They're going to push this over, and they're going to actually, I think, try to convert over to the left tower and climb there, which doesn't super work because 1P started building here. Sometimes what you see is that players build along the outside their staircase, and so when they do that, this crossover works out wonderfully. When they do not, it leads to more of a situation like this where it's not necessarily advantageous for 2P to really do anything here. I mean, realistically, all 1P has to do is just get up here and push this in, right? Because 2P is already pushing this in, and then their landing will stick and still be kind of nice. I guess actually, depending on the timing of the fall, right? If these blocks fall, well, let me clear it up a little bit. If these guys fall before 1P is able to push this, then you would get into an interesting situation, right, where you have the blocks like that. And so even when you push this, this guy falls, but this guy stays. And so that does kind of create an awkward landing. 1P does have his item, though, which, completely changes where 1P just needs to stand up and use it. But 2P has a little bit more work to do here. They have to climb from the inside, which is a little bit tricky to do. So we'll see what happens. 1P is going to use his item, which is fine. Yeah, 2P now is a little bit stuck. They just had to do a little bit more work is all. But yeah, this is a fairly strong start for 1P. 1P is going to do some normal climbing, hopefully. Yeah, 2P just ran out of time. That's what happens sometimes. I like the idea. I think that MST should have probably abandoned it. So probably should have abandoned it once 1P started doing this. Once 1P did this, I think 2P should have just went up. But if you are insistent on doing it, wow, that is an uneven skip. If you are insistent on doing it, I think here what you should do is you should spider over here and use this landing, because the difference there being that instead of having to do this crazy workaround where you're climbing inside the tower, once 1P goes up, you're here, so you are no longer inside the tower. You're climbing from outside, right? And then you're able to do kind of the things I was talking about before, where you manipulate some of these pushes and you make it kind of nice. Actually, you know what? The more I think about it, this might not be super bad for 2P, because actually being here gives you a lot of control over the tower, especially when they do some more pushes. So if I am here, you see though what I'm saying is that 2P at this point should have just gone over here, especially once this block's there. I mean, then it's not even an issue, right? You go back, you toss it there, you then go back and maybe grab the item. Actually, I don't think there's a block there, so I think this guy's going to fall too. So maybe the juice won't be there, but certainly the block's there and you'll be okay. But I think that 2P ends up staying inside of here. Yeah, they do this crazy push stuff, which just doesn't work. But I was going to say 2P might have had an opportunity to have control over these blocks and mess with 1P's climb. Didn't work out, so that's fine. Trying to see what else. I love Kim's little hat here, and now... Alright, let's see what happens. The tried and true idiot push. I think, okay, MST prefers the Japanese style, is kind of what we're calling it right now, is where you go on the inside and then come out to here. I think technically, I think speed-wise it is the same, but for me personally, I don't like it as much. I think because it will require more work to move this block out of the way, as opposed to it just is a very elegant solve when you push this in and then this block becomes your pivot block, right? Because all you have to do now is push this and then you get this nice nice shape. It's kind of like, really what is the nicest shape here is what I call like the tiger's mouth is this thing, right? You've got 1, 2, 3. The easy way to solve it, right, is if you're on the inside climb, is to push out, and then you step over and up, and then this guy falls, and it gives you a really nice pattern. As opposed to over here, you don't get that. You don't have that tiger's mouth. So you have to do a lot more. You have to do more pushing and pulling. You are in a pivotal spot though that 1P needs, right? Because the fight happens over this area. Because 1P needs this guy to go over in order for this guy to fall. But 2P also needs the same spot, so there's going to be a constant push here. So I don't know how this is going to end up. But yeah, that's why it's called the idiot push, is because it looks kind of stupid. Now, I guess that's fair too, and full body items do spawn, so I guess this is actually, the outside is much better for 1P because they're able to farm, while 2P does not have the potential to farm, right, because they can't pull anything because the blocks are on top. So when you get an X, there's your solve, is to jump up and use it. I guess it's not the end of the world because even though you get the solve there, 2P, you give up the spot, right? So now 2P has his solve. Um, so, okay, that happens. But, yeah, you got some X. I don't know if I would use the X right away, I guess, on Cathedral. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different places you can use it. I don't know if there's the best one, but okay. Right? Like, if you wouldn't have used your X, say that you didn't use it to solve this level, right? What would have been kind of nice, uh, or the level before that even, right? Say that you had two X's. You know, you push, you pull, you drink, and then you drink. Right, that's pretty convenient solve. I try to think of like, okay, well, does something save me moves, right? That was just two pushes, or two pulls, right? This way, I think I mean, I guess technically this is still a fairly fast solve. Is again, you got this nice tiger's mouth shape. So anytime you have that, you can do a push, right? You can stand here. This guy's going to fall, and then you push here, right? So now this guy's here. He's no longer on top, and there's your walk up. So that works out pretty good. So. Uh, I guess at the end of the day, that was two pushes, and two pushes is faster than two pulls. So, or rather, a push and a pull. So, okay, this works. Oh, wait, yep, there's 1P doing what I thought. Blah blah. 2P is in a little bit of a tough spot. He does have an item, so I guess that's okay. 1P gets the skull, so that's gonna be not a fun time for him, to say the least. Um. You're 2P, you're gonna do a push. 1P. Oh my goodness. 1P has quite a fall to go. You're gonna get some checkers here. Um, a lot of stuff. If I am 2P, I think what I prefer to do in something like this is I prefer to keep a ceiling on my opponent. So I think I would have pushed this row to keep the pressure on him to not allow him to actually like do anything, right? Because it does eventually force him to interact with this block, but that is, I think, okay, fine, because if I see him coming over to push this, then I stand on top of the structure, and being on top of your opponent is typically a good thing. Um, Sometimes not, but I think here it would have worked out great. Um, because, right, they wouldn't have been able to do this, and they wouldn't have been able to get over to this side. But in terms of climbing wise, I think 2P has the advantage, albeit slight. Here's opportunity for a drop kick. It wouldn't have gotten him great mileage, right? It would have landed him back into here. Actually, that would have been pretty good. Um, yeah, that would have been pretty good if they would have got a drop kick, right? Because this block would have still been here, and then that's like acting like a capping move. Um, and it does the same effect of what I like to do with this. You know, you have this ceiling kind of over top, which in Catherine we're about destroying houses. We're not about making houses. So you want to have stable environments of your own and unstable enemy structures. So um, I think a dropkick would have been deadly and might have been the game. Um, or at least the round. Well, I mean, probably realistically not, right? I mean, it would just force 1P to do some pushes over here and start to go to the outside, but that's a story for another time. C2P, blah blah, 2P's doing some climbing, 1P's going to use some juice, that's cool. That's cool, that's cool, blah blah. Uh, this is one of those situations, right, where I'm eating my words a little bit where, oh yeah, it's better to be up your opponent, but not always true, right? Now when 2P has control over this block, this guy's going to fall. 1P is in a kind of precarious situation. If I am 2P, I probably would go over here and pull this to try to bait 1P to come down, do a push, get a pillow hit, but I guess then the conversion is not super great. In Classic, it would be a lot better because it would actually set you up to do a pull, and then you have a checkmate situation. In Full Body, that is less true. In fact, it is not true because If you pull this, 1p comes down. You push this, 1p falls. 2p gets a pillow hit. 1p is now spidering. If 1p moves over to this square, 2p goes to pull this to try to get into a position where they are able to drop kick and control this one square. When they do the pull, however, because 1p is here, they are able to do a swap. And due to the timing of the reversal, you actually give the winning position now to 1p. So that wouldn't quite work out here. So what do you do instead? Okay. I think what might work instead is that you do this, you pull this, and you stand on top of it. And that's it. You stand on top of it. Well, yeah. Huh. Because my idea, right, is that 1p doesn't have anywhere to go except down. So you want to try to control the area where they're going to go. So if you pull this, it gives you the opportunity, right? You'll be on top of here. You'll have direct dive kick of this square. So that's pretty important, and you can kind of time one out. However, you can only do that if the position where you're going to will lead you to beat 1p, right? Which isn't going to be true here, right? I mean, 1p is going to pull this, or push this, so now there's a ceiling here, which, meh, is my opinion of that. You won't be able to push this because this will be where 1p is, so that doesn't quite work either. And again, you don't want to move from this position because that is what is controlling here. And 1p, what they should do is they should hang and spider. Because if they are not, what 2p could do is come over, push another one, and then get up. Right? And that wouldn't be good for 1p because now 2p has control and they have an additional height that they can easily get to. Oh, well, I guess they won't once this block isn't here anymore, but they do have their juice, so that would be the solution to that. So, yeah, if you're in this position, this is kind of a little bit of a tough read. I think that the move, though, is probably fairly good to pull this and stand on top after this falls and just wait. So let's see what the players actually end up doing. Oh, 1p was actually able to get a move in there. I mean, it kind of works out okay, I guess. Right? If 2p wouldn't have tried to push this, right, and instead waited, 1p, if 1p would have dropped, there's your drop kick. So instead what 1p would have done would have been to push this, right? This block is now out here. And then maybe do another push on this guy. This block is now here. 1p is standing here, so they use their juice. If I'm 2p, maybe instead of pushing this block, maybe I'm trying to push this block, right? I mean, if I push this, all of this is in danger, right? Which is where 1p is standing. So it would force 1p to drop, and there's this kind of crazy slap fight from earlier. So we'll see what happens here. Potential there for a reversal, blah, blah. I guess at the end of the day, right, this ended up in the same kind of spider fight as what I was describing before. So we'll see. No player has a clear advantage because as soon as you stop, the other... you're at a crossroads because as the player in the advantage, you want to cover both of these, right? You don't want to let the player up. I think... Personally, I'm thinking this side actually works kind of nicer just because I'm thinking you pull this, you push this in, you pull this back out, right? You do the hokey pokey. And when you do that, you actually get a nice like 2 landing. But to be fair, there probably is not a lot out on the outside to climb here, and you should probably work your way over to this side. So it does look like this side is better, but this side is much harder to climb. I don't see an easy solve here. So, I mean, alright. Realistically, what do? You pull this one more, and you have your double. You have your king's. I call it, your bishop, whatever, right? Um, but yeah, you got the high ground and you win. That's the realistic scenario. Is that if you pull this one more, that's a winning position. Instead, they're just kind of doing this weird thing, right? Now 2P is going to be able to go this way, right? And now you got this, yeah, yeah. MST goes for something cheeky, which, bites him in the butt. Alright, I think I talked about Catherine enough for now. I think I think we had some interesting ideas, especially about a range. I think we have to change our minds a little bit about how we think about the stage. Should be, how do you say, you don't want to climb necessarily. You want to think about it just in like one or two steps because any structure that you make is just not going to be very good and not very solid at all. So, yeah. Oh, do they have a little thing at the end here? Which, yeah, okay. So we had Reno and MST, and then we had Leza and Kim. So, yeah, it was a good showing. Um, I hope, I played with all these guys when I went to EVO Japan, and I'm hoping we can eventually play again someday. That would be very exciting. Um, I think I haven't been playing much full body, but I have been thinking about it, and I have been thinking about Catherine in general. So hopefully I'm not too rusty. But yeah. Oh, there's a whole chat here going too. That's cool. I didn't even watch any of this, so that's exciting. I hope Japan keeps going strong with the players. Anyway, yep. Thanks for watching.